All right, hello everybody. I can't tell if this is actually streaming to my Facebook page and YouTube channel or not because I'm not seeing it on my Facebook page yet. Okay, it is. It is working. All right. Okay, so today is September 4th, and here in Maryland, which is the state that I live in the United States, it is 4 p.m. And this is my first time. I think this is my first time using the software that I am using today. So I'm not 100% sure how easy it's going to be for me to see and read and reply to your comments because I've never used this before. But I'm going to try my best. But yeah, please be patient and understand that I'm using different software than the software that I used in the past. So this is a test here. However, I do not see any of your comments yet. Usually we have 1 or 2 comments by now. I see that we have 11 people watching, but I do not see any comments. Where can I see them? Okay. I see Isabel AR says, "Good afternoon, teacher." Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining. I see Stephanie, or sorry, Stefania. Hi, Mike. Hello, Stefania. Thank you for joining. So yeah, in this live lesson, I don't know if I should call it a lesson because I haven't planned a specific topic, but in this live lesson or live video today, I'm just going to answer some of your questions about English and about learning English. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please make sure to ask them. This is a great opportunity to do that. Eva, thank you for joining. Hello, hello. Edgar, hello. Thank you for joining. And Evelyn here as always. Hello, Evelyn. Thank you for joining today. So yeah, everyone, if you have questions about English or about learning English, please make sure to ask them in the comments. Right now, I just see hi, hello, hello, hi. That's great. Thank you for saying hello. But I would like to see some questions as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Also, can you all please confirm that the volume is okay? Because I'm using a microphone right now and I'm not 100% sure whether or not you can hear me. But I assume that you can, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, thank you, thank you. So, Malgorzata, I assume that you are from Poland, looking at your last name, but I could be wrong. But thank you for letting me know that the audio is fine. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Same thing to Daniela Paglietti. I can hear you well. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, since no one has asked any questions yet, I will just talk about a few things for a moment. One, I see the comment from Sapito. It says, "We miss your lives," and yeah, so that's why I'm doing this today. I don't really make money from these lives, and honestly, I can't tell how much they actually help people, but a lot of you have said that you miss them, so that's why I'm trying to start doing them again. They're not the best use of my time, again, since they don't really make money. And again, I don't really know how much they help you all. So that's kind of why I haven't been doing them. But since a lot of people have said we miss them, I listen to you all, and I understand that some of you miss them. So that's exactly why we are doing them again. And I didn't plan to do this today, and I'm not sure how often I'm going to do them or what time I'm going to do them, but I'm just going to test a few times. Maybe today we'll do it at this time, another day we'll do it at a different time. I just want to test some different things, and later, maybe in the beginning of the new year, we can set up a schedule for them. Thank you, Sapito. When I return a car, is it to revoke? So no. To revoke something basically means that you tell someone you are not allowed to have this anymore. I'm taking it back from you. For example, maybe the government gives you a driver's license, but you are very bad at driving and you get in a lot of accidents and you have trouble with the law. The government might revoke your driver's license. They say, we want this back. You are not allowed to have this anymore. That is how we use revoke. You gave something to someone, but now you're saying, nope, sorry, you can't have that anymore. We need it back. Good question. But yeah, to return a car, you just say, return a car. I rented this car 5 days ago, and now I'm going to return it. Return is the correct word. Revoke is not. Again, good question. Hi, how are you? I want to learn English in 5 months. Tell me what I should do, please. If you want to learn English in only 5 months, just spend maybe 3 to 6 hours listening, studying, learning, and practicing speaking 7 days a week. If you want to do it in just 5 months, you need to spend a lot of time doing it. So again, just 5 months, maybe 3 to 6 hours a day, 7 days a week, listening to English all day, every day. That is a very, very serious goal. That is not a normal thing to do. That is not something that most people are going to do. If you want to do that, you have to be very focused. You have to be better than the best student that I have ever met. So basically, the answer is no, you're not going to do this. That's just the honest truth. You're not going to do it unless you have a lot of free time that you can spend studying and practicing. For most people, learning English is going to take at least 2 or 3 years. That's just the truth. But good question. Good question. I'm happy that you asked. How to sound more natural in English. So it depends what you mean when you say sound natural. Because when some people say sound natural, they think, I want to sound like an American. I want to sound British. I want to sound Australian. And that's one way of thinking about natural. Some people think that natural means sound like a native speaker. But natural could also just mean comfortable and confident and able to use the language well, even if your accent does not sound like the accent of a native speaker. So if by natural you mean sound like a native speaker, just listen to native speakers every day and repeat the things that you hear. And do all the other things that you should be doing. Practice, read, write, listen, speak. Do all those things every day. But if you want to sound like a native speaker, the one main thing that you really need to do is listen to the native speakers that you want to sound like. If you want to sound American, listen to Americans every day. If you want to sound British, listen to British people every day. But if when you say natural, you just mean that you want to sound confident, relaxed, comfortable, able to use the language easily, you just need to practice. Practice a lot. The more you practice, the more comfortable you become. And also spend time listening to native speakers. Not so that you will sound exactly like them, but just so that you know what things we say, what things are real. For example, maybe your teacher is not a native speaker, so they give you a sentence that no one would ever say in real life. But you don't know that because you only listen to your teacher, you never listen to native speakers. So listening to native speakers still is important to learn what we say and what we don't say. But if you just want to be comfortable speaking, you don't need to copy their accents or things like that. I don't know how much sense that answer made, but basically, natural can mean two things. It can mean sounding like a native speaker, or it can mean being comfortable and confident using the language. Both of those require practice and listening. But if you want to sound like a native speaker, you need to spend more time listening to native speakers and copying the things that they say, really listening to the sounds that they make and trying to make those sounds yourself. Good question. I see this question. What is the difference between other and another? I already have a video about this on my YouTube channel. So after this live video, please just go to my YouTube channel and search another. And when you search another, you will see the video that is about another, the other, others, and the others. I explain all of those in that video. So please just check on my YouTube channel after you are done watching this live video. And I'm about 10 minutes behind in the comments. Right now, I'm still reading the comments. When I go live like this, your comments do not always come to me at the same time that you send them. So please understand that right now I'm in the old comments. I'm trying to go down through them and get to some of the newer ones. Thank you for your patience. I like this question. In fact, I like this question so much that I wrote a whole ebook about it. And before I forget, give me one moment and I will send the link to buy the ebook in the comments for anyone who is interested. So I have 3 ebooks on my website right now. They're all available to buy. This one, which is about how to learn to think in English, is called, guess what it's called? It's called Learn How to Think in English. So I'm sending the link to my website in the comments right now. For anyone who is interested, you can come back and after the live video is finished, you can click on that link and you can get the ebook. In that ebook, I explain lots of things that you can do. I explain them in detail. But really, some of the main things that I recommend, especially if you can't, if right now you can't think in English at all, one of the number one things that I recommend is just look around and try to say to yourself in your head in English, what is that? Do I know what that is? Do I know what this is? What is that? And when you see it, try to think the English word. Sofa. But you're not saying it. I'm saying it so you can hear what I'm doing, but really it's just in your mind. So start with simple things. That is a sofa. What is that? That is a cell phone. What are those? Those are lights. So start with very simple sentences that you are confident with, because really this is about, it's not about suddenly, like one day you just wake up and you think everything in English. That's not how it works. You need to start with the basics and become very comfortable with the basics and build the habit. And every week, every month, you'll be able to do a little bit more easily. It becomes a habit, it becomes natural. But in the beginning, it's not going to feel natural. Well, for most people, it's not going to feel natural. But yeah, that's the first thing I recommend is look around and think, what is that? Do I know what that is? And say the words to yourself, but in your head. Sofa, chair. Again, it's difficult to show you because I can't show you what's happening in my mind, but I hope you understand the idea. Um, and when that becomes very easy, you can get a little bit more advanced. For example, if you're standing in line at the grocery store or at the bank, you can just think in your head, how do I feel right now? What am I doing right now? And try to answer those questions in your head. But yeah, I explain all of this in a lot more detail with a few other methods as well in the ebook that I shared in the comments. And if you're interested, that link has that ebook. It also has my ebook about 8 ways to practice speaking without a partner. And it also has my new guide, English in 30 Minutes, which teaches you basically what I recommend doing every single day to improve your English, even if you only have 30 minutes per day. But I want to be clear about this. That guide is not only for people who only have 30 minutes per day. In fact, if you have 1 hour per day or 2 hours per day, the things that I recommend in that guide work even better. So for anyone who's interested, that link is now in the comments. And I apologize, but if your question is more than one sentence, if it's really long, it's going to be difficult for me to read while I'm live. So if you have a question, please try to keep it short and clear, something where I can look at it and say, boop, boop, boop. Okay, good question. Not something where I have to, hello teacher, blah, 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 blah. What is he asking? Oh, is this the question? Please just try to make them short and clear, easy for me to read, because I'm not going to spend a long time reading really long questions. Thank you. I'm also trying to choose questions that I think will benefit a large number of people. So if it's a really specific question about something that I don't think is going to benefit a lot of people, I'm also not usually going to answer those ones. Also, please don't send the same question again and again and again and again. So Emmanuel, I see that you've sent the same question many times. Please do not do that. I do my best to read the comments, but when people send the same questions again and again and again, it makes it really difficult for me to read the comments, and it makes me think that I'm in the part of the comments that was 5 minutes ago because I saw that comment 5 minutes ago, and it's really confusing for me. So please don't do that. Thank you. Here's a simple one. So would you please explain the words pretty dull? So dull can mean two different things. First, dull can be the opposite of sharp. So if you have a knife and the knife does not cut things easily, that's probably because the knife is dull. So dull means not sharp. But dull can also mean a little bit stupid, like not very intelligent, not very smart. So if you say that a person is dull, it might mean that they're just not very smart. It can also kind of mean that something is boring or not interesting. The word pretty is very similar to somewhat or quite. It means yes, it is, and it's a high amount, but it's not very. It's usually a little bit below very. And it often makes the thing sound a little bit interesting or a little bit surprising. Like maybe you didn't expect it to be that way. So if you say that something is pretty dull, it probably means that it's just not very interesting, not very exciting. But if you're talking about a knife or a pair of scissors, in that case, it would mean that it's not very sharp. What is the difference between an English teacher and a teacher of English? So teacher of English is a phrase that is mostly used by people who do not speak English as their first language. So I would almost never call myself a teacher of English. I would call myself an English teacher. However, if you are from a country where the first language is not English, your teacher might tell you that English teacher is wrong, but your teacher is wrong because it's completely normal, it's completely fine to say that I am an English teacher. That is what I am. I teach English, therefore I am an English teacher. So basically, teacher of English is a thing that some non-native speakers say because they think that it's not correct to say English teacher, but actually it is correct. It's fine. Lucilia Calza, I see your comment. Thank you very much. What is the best way to learn vocabulary so that we can internalize the word? So I think that when you say internalize the word, you mean remember it and really understand not just the meaning, but really how to use the word and what situations it is appropriate to use it in. So it's two questions. First, to learn vocabulary just means learn new words. The way that you learn new words is you read and listen to things that you have not read or listened to before. Always search for new topics. Always search for new material. Always search for new books. Always search for new videos. Listen to things even if you think that that topic isn't very interesting for you. Because if it's not interesting, that probably means that you haven't listened to it before. You haven't read it before, and therefore it's going to have new words that you have never seen or heard before. So often the things that don't seem interesting, that you think, I don't like that, that's where you're going to find new words most of the time, is in new places. New places have new things. So basic answer, read and listen every day, especially things that you have never read or listened to before. But how do you memorize the words? How do you make sure that you really understand them and know how to use them? So the first step is when you see or hear a new word, look it up in a dictionary or on the internet or however you look things up, and then write it down. Write down the word and write down the definition, and then search for some example sentences. And this is really easy. Just go on Google, go on the internet, go on ChatGPT, whatever you have, type the word, and then type example sentences. Click one of the links, and there will probably be 10 example sentences. Read all of them. Try to understand them. Try to understand how the word is really being used and what the word really means. And then write some of those sentences down in your notebook or on your laptop or wherever you write things down, because you should be writing things down every day. If you're just listening, just reading, you're not going to remember anything unless you do like hours and hours and hours every day. But for most of you, you aren't doing that, so you need to write things down. So look up the word, look up example sentences, write some of the example sentences down, practice saying them out loud, getting comfortable with them, then write new example sentences of your own. So you create your own sentences. And it's okay if there are some mistakes in them. They don't need to be perfect. The goal here is just that because you are using the word more, it's going to stay in your brain better. It's okay if you didn't use it 100% correctly. It's okay if there are some grammar mistakes in your sentence. The goal here is for the word and the meaning of the word to be going into your brain, even if your sentences are not perfect. So now you've written down maybe 3 sentences that you found on the internet and 3 sentences that you created by yourself. You have 6 sentences. Now, every day for 1 week, read those sentences out loud, speaking them to yourself, trying to get comfortable with them. Do that every day for 1 week. Make flashcards too. If you don't know how to use flashcards, I also have a video about how to use flashcards. But basically, you want to be using them again and again and again, seeing them again and again and again, speaking them again and again and again. And part of the reason why this is so important is that when you learn a new word, if you wait to see it or hear it in real life, that might be 2 weeks in the future. That might be 1 month in the future. And by that time, you might have already forgotten it. So it's important to force yourself to put the words in front of you, see them, hear them, speak them, read them out loud again and again and again. This is just so important. Yeah, that's basically it. Sorry, long answer. How many tenses are actually used by native speakers? So we use all of them. And if you want to speak English really well, you also need to be able to use all of them. For basic everyday communication, just for work, just for travel, just for like sometimes chatting with your friends for 10 minutes, no, you don't need to be able to use all of them perfectly. But if you want to be able to speak English like a native speaker, you need to learn all of them. We use all of them. There's a reason why they exist. Each one has a specific purpose. Each one focuses on different things. Each one is useful in different situations. So I do recommend trying to learn all of them. So this is an interesting comment. Perhaps to sound like a native speaker, you have to stay in the country where that language is spoken. So this is not true. Um, yes, it can. It can be helpful, but there are lots of people who live in the United States for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and they don't really learn English. Because it's not about where you are. It's about what you do with the tools that you have available to you. So I know people who have lived in Thailand their whole lives. They have never left Thailand, but they speak English just like a native speaker because they focused on learning. They focused on studying. They focused on listening to native speakers every single day. And you can do that in a country where people speak English, but you can also do that in a country where people don't speak English because all of you have the internet. But good question. I know it's not a question, but a comment. But good, good. Thank you for saying that. I ask myself, why do so many people want to sound like a native speaker if they aren't a native speaker? So there are several reasons why people would want to sound like a native speaker. And I think the main reason that many people want to sound like a native speaker is that someone has told them at some point that sounding like a native speaker is important, or someone has told them that sounding like a native speaker is the best goal. And that's just not true. The best goal, what's important, depends on what's important to you. And if you just really want to sound like a native speaker because you think it's cool, you think it's interesting, then yeah, go ahead and do it. That's fine. That's great. That's a really ambitious, difficult to achieve goal, and I support you in trying to do that. But you need to ask yourself, why do you want to do that? Like you are asking right now. It's a good question. Again, many people want to sound like a native speaker and they don't know why. They just want to do it because someone told them that that's the best goal. And you always need to think about, what are my real goals? Why am I learning English? Why do I need English? What should I focus on? Because for many people, sounding like a native speaker is really not important. And you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself and sometimes making yourself feel bad because you think, oh, I still don't sound like a native speaker. When really that's fine. You don't need to sound like a native speaker. Focus on other things. Focus on improving your grammar. Focus on learning new words. Focus on building confidence using the language in real situations. Um, But there are some good reasons why people might want to sound like a native speaker. For example, if you live in a country where all the other people are native speakers, it might feel a lot more comfortable if you speak the same way that they do. In that situation, it's a good goal if you have the time to do that. But not everyone has that much time to focus on improving their language skills. Um, Good example, myself. I lived in Thailand for 10 years, and my Thai is okay. It's like intermediate, upper intermediate, but I sound 100% American when I speak Thai. Um, and again, this is because I was busy. I was working. Most of the time that I was in Thailand, those 10 years, I was working from 9 a.m. to 6 or 7 p.m. Some days working 5 a.m. to 6 p.m., often working on weekends. And the same is true for many people that come to the US. They're working 5, 6 days a week, and they also have a family. They have a husband, a wife, children. And in those situations, like, focus on your family, focus on your work. Improving your English is a good thing to do, but it's not the most important thing for many people. So for many people, the important thing is gradually improving your English over time, trying to get it a little bit better, learning new things every day. But if you have to spend an extra 3 or 4 hours every day, even an extra 1 or 2 hours every day, that's time that you don't get to spend with your family. That's time that you don't get to spend doing things that you enjoy doing. So you need to figure out, what goals do you have? How much free time do you have? Because for me, I couldn't spend more than 30 minutes a day or maybe 90 minutes a day learning Thai because I had a full-time job and I have a wife. It's just expecting to sound like a native speaker was not a reasonable, not a good goal for me because I didn't have the time for that. Also, for me, another very big thing was that my job, my full-time job, was speaking English to English learners. So for me, I couldn't use Thai at work, Thai, the language that I was learning, because my job was to speak English the whole time. So that for me was not a good opportunity to improve my Thai. But if you have a job where you can speak English every day and you're learning English every day, that would make it easier. But basically, yeah, if you want to sound like a native speaker, ask yourself, why do I want to sound like a native speaker? Is it important for me to sound like a native speaker? Because it might not be important. And maybe you're putting too much pressure on yourself and maybe you're wasting time focusing on things that really just aren't that important. Hopefully that makes sense. Another long answer, but hopefully that was helpful. And I'm still really far behind in the comments. Thank you everyone for asking questions, but I am about 15 minutes behind in the comments. Hi teacher, how can I go from level B1 to C2 very quickly? The answer is that you probably will not. So B1 is intermediate, like basic intermediate. B2 is upper intermediate. C1 is advanced. C2 is basically the same as a native speaker, maybe better because you've studied a lot of grammar. So how do you go from intermediate to super advanced very quickly? You probably don't. However, just general advice for getting from intermediate to advanced is to remember that that is a lot more difficult, in my opinion and my experience, personally and professionally. Getting from intermediate to super advanced is a lot harder than getting from nothing to intermediate. So to go from here to here is actually pretty easy, but to get from here to here requires a lot more focus. It requires a lot more strategy. You need to be thinking a lot more about, what do I need to improve? What are my weaknesses? What are my goals? It requires more of a plan. Or it requires using the language every day for a long time. And each day you'll learn a few new things. Each day you'll get more confident, but that's not going to be very fast unless you have a plan. Good question. I see a lot of comments saying, hello, we missed your lives. Thank you for the live video, etc. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very, very much. I'm not reading every single comment because I'm trying to answer the questions right now, but I do see your comments and I appreciate them. Evelyn, thank you very much. Thank you for the gift. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. I also see that Evelyn said, my goal is to speak English comfortably and fluently, but not as a native speaker. And I love this because if I were learning English, this would probably be my goal also. Because again, being comfortable and confident and clear, that's a lot more important than sounding like a native speaker in most situations. However, remember that I keep talking about how it's not that important to sound like a native speaker, but if you really think that it is important, that's great. That's a good goal for you. I just don't want to put pressure on people and make them think that that's the only goal. I want everyone to understand that there are many goals that you can have. But for most people, wanting to sound like a native speaker is actually not a very good goal. But there are some people for whom it is an okay goal. Guerma, hello, I see your comment. Thank you very much, Guerma. Thank you for joining. I'm glad that you're here. Sayed Nadeem from India, hello, hello. Thank you for joining. Good question. Is perhaps different from maybe? So in general, they mean the same thing. However, perhaps sounds a little bit more formal, whereas maybe sounds more informal. There are also differences in how we use them in a sentence. But this is another topic where I already have a video on YouTube. So after watching this live video, I recommend going to my YouTube channel and searching perhaps. When you search for perhaps, you will see my video about maybe and perhaps. Ava, thank you for your question. If I listen to something in English and only understand 50%, should I listen to it many times until I understand it 100%? So this is an interesting question. It depends on why you don't understand it. if you don't understand it because there are words that you don't know, listening to it again and again is not going to help you because you still don't know what those words mean. If the problem is just the speed of the speech, then maybe, yes, you should listen to it again and again, because that way you're improving your listening skills. However, I don't want you to listen to the same thing 50 times, especially if it's 10 minutes long. And this is part of why I speak so clearly in my videos. Sometimes people say, "Teacher, you should speak more naturally." But if I spoke naturally, many of you would only understand 20% of what I'm saying. And to understand the stuff that I'm explaining, you'd have to spend 2 hours watching a 10-minute video, and that would be crazy. That would be really stupid. So if the problem is just the speed, then yeah, maybe you should listen a few times, but don't listen to it many times. And if it feels frustrating, if it feels really boring, if you feel like I don't want to do this, don't do it. Stop. Do things that you enjoy. But if the problem is the vocabulary because there are words that you don't understand, then after your first time listening, the first time you listen to something, I always recommend listening to the whole thing. Don't stop, don't pause it, don't look up words, just listen to the whole thing nonstop just to get comfortable listening and see how much you understand. At the end, you might say to yourself, "Wow, I understood all of that." Or at the end, you might say, "Wow, I only understood 20% of that." And if you only understood 20% of it, I don't recommend going back and looking up every word because that's a lot of work. What you can do is, if you only understood 20%, what I recommend doing is saying, "Okay, that was difficult. Right now, this is too advanced for me. But save the link and listen to that video again the next week, 2 weeks later, 1 month later, 3 months later. And when you come back in the future, you'll listen to the same thing and it will be easier." And that's one of the best ways that you can really see your progress, even when you feel like you're not improving. Because when you come back and you listen to something that you didn't understand 6 months ago, but now you understand almost all of it, you're going to see, wow, I really am improving, even though you might not have noticed that. So yeah, basically, no, I don't recommend listening to the same thing a whole bunch of times. But if you feel like it might help, then yeah, listen to it 1 more time, 2 more times, 3 more times. But if you've listened to it 2 more times, 3 more times, and it feels like it's not helping, then stop. Good question. Very good question. Thank you, Ava. And I'll probably do just one more question because it has been about 50 minutes, and talking like this can be very tiring. So I don't want to do this a lot longer, but I will answer maybe one more question. How to improve your writing. So writing is difficult. It's not something that I can really just explain to you. Writing is grammar. Improve your grammar. Improve your grammar. Improve your punctuation, comma, periods, question mark. Learn how to use those. Improve your vocabulary. And read a lot. Good readers make good writers. So usually, the more you read, the better your writing will be. The bigger your vocabulary is, the better your writing will be. The better your grammar is, the better your writing will be. That's the general advice that I would give you. The final piece of advice is find someone whose English is a lot better than yours. Maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, and give them your writing and say, hey, here are 5 sentences I wrote. Can you please check them for me and give them feedback? Give me feedback. And that's exactly what you can do if you are in my Facebook subscriber group. Again, the subscriber group is $4.99 per month. But if you're in that group, every day you can create your own post and send me your questions, send me your sentences and say, teacher, this is a question that I have. Could you please answer it for me? Teacher, these are 5 sentences that I wrote. Can you please check them for me? If you're in my subscriber group, again, $4.99 per month, you can do that. And that's a lot of people don't understand. They say, oh, $4.99 per month to be in a group. That's so expensive. But you have access to me. When you're in that group, you can send me your sentences and I check them for you, usually within 24 hours. But again, you don't have to join that group. I want people to know about it. But if you don't want to spend $4.99 per month, which is great value for what it is, then you can just find a friend, find a coworker, find a family member and say, hey, please check these for me. But they might not want to because you're not paying them to do it. If I understand you 100%, what level am I? Can't tell you, because if you are B1, you can probably understand me 90%. If you're B2, you can probably understand me 100%. If you're C1, C2, you can definitely understand me 100%. If you are C1 or C2, you probably won't watch my videos, because if you are C1 or C2, my videos are probably super easy and super boring. So you're probably not C1 or C2. You're probably B1 or B2. But yeah, let's end it here for today because it's been 55 minutes. It's been a long one, but fun to do this with you all again. And I will try to do more of these in the future. Again, I don't have a schedule for it. I don't have a plan for it because I am working on my new podcast, English Conversations with Teacher Mike. I'm also working on my new series, Ask an American. And I'm going to post the link for that in the comments below for anyone who has not yet seen it. My newest episode of Ask an American is an interview with my friend Jake, who now lives in Maryland, but he was born in Alaska, grew up in Alaska, and his mom is from Mexico. So he grew up as a native English speaker in the United States in Alaska, but he also has experience with his mother, who is not a native English speaker, and he has lots of interesting advice about learning English, and he also shares some really interesting information about Alaska. Alaska is a really interesting place, and he has lots to say about it. So I'm sharing the link to that video in the comments right now. If you want practice listening to English, this is a great opportunity. It's an interview. It's just me and him. It's 20 minutes long, and I think you all will enjoy it. So yeah, the link is in the comments now if you are interested in listening to that. But yeah, that is all for today. Thank you all very much for joining this live lesson, and I will see you again soon.